Exercise 2.6a. Questions 1 through 2. Listen to part of a talk in an art class.
If you are unsure of drawing directly in pen and ink, start off with a light pencil sketch. This will allow you to make sure that your proportions are correct and that you are happy with the composition. Take a few minutes to study your subject, this chair and violin. Notice how the straight lines of the chair differ from the curves of the violin. Once you are ready to begin drawing, define the shape of the chair with clean, straight lines. Then add contrast by drawing the outline of the violin with gently curved lines. You may have to apply more pressure to the nib when drawing curved lines to allow the ink to flow easily. When you have drawn the outlines of both objects, add in the finer details, such as the seat of the chair and the violin strings. Suggest the texture of the woven seat by using light and dark strokes of the pen.
Number 1. What is the purpose of the talk? Number 2. The instructor briefly explains how to draw the subject. Indicate whether each sentence below is a step in the process. Questions 3 through 5. Listen to a geography professor talk about avalanche control.
Avalanches are a constant threat on mountain highways. The Rogers Pass stretch of the Trans-Canada is at risk of being buried in snow from November to April every year. This is why the highway now has a sophisticated defense system. The best way, it's important to control an avalanche when it's small, so a slide is set off while it's still small before it builds up into a serious danger. A team of snow technicians monitors the snowpack. They sort of read the snow and try to predict when it's likely to slide. They study data from the weather stations in the mountains. As the danger increases, they drop explosives onto test slopes to see if the snow can be made to slide. It's kind of tricky trying to decide just when the snow will slide. The weight of the snow, together with the force of gravity, is what starts an avalanche. The technicians don't want to wait till it's too late, but if they're too early, before conditions are just right, the snow won't release. When the time is right, they close the road and remove all traffic from the pass. Most closures last 2 to 4 hours. Then the Army comes in. A 10-man artillery crew operates a mobile 105mm howitzer, firing shells into the slopes. This sends out shock waves that trigger the avalanches. Slides are set off one by one. The technicians direct the action, telling the troops where to aim the gun. Visibility can be awful. Then they have to check and see if the avalanche has released well enough. Sometimes they drive their trucks below the slide path, kind of dangerous work, and they listen to the snow come down. Sometimes, if the slide is bigger than they expected, they might have to make a speedy getaway.
Number 3. According to the professor, why is it important to control an avalanche when it is small? Number 4. What are the natural causes of an avalanche? Number 5. The professor explains how a controlled avalanche is achieved. Summarize the process by putting the steps in the correct order. Questions 6 through 10. Listen to a discussion in an ecology class. The class is talking about the salmon's run.
Various species of Pacific salmon make a round trip from the small streams where they are born to the sea. and then back to the stream of their origin, where they spawn and die. This round trip is known as the salmon's run. The end of the salmon's run is the beginning of the next generation. Pacific salmon hatch in the headwaters of a stream. As fry, the fish then migrate downstream via rivers and eventually to the ocean, where they require several years to mature. While in the sea, salmon from many river systems school and feed together. When mature, the salmon form into groups of common geographic origin and migrate back toward the river they emerged from as juveniles.
Is it true that they find their way home by their sense of smell?
During the first stage of their return, they navigate by the position of the sun, but later, when they reach the river leading to their home stream, their keen sense of smell takes over.
Just what is it they can smell? The other fish?
The water flowing from each stream carries a unique scent. This scent comes from the types of plants, soil, and other components of that stream. This scent is apparently imprinted in the memory of a salmon fry before it migrates to the sea.
I remember having a real shock when I was hiking once. I was looking at a waterfall, and I saw a salmon jump up, about 10 feet. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes, but then I saw another one do it, and then several more. It was an awesome sight.
They must have an incredibly powerful instinct.
The survival of their species depends on their ability to get home and reproduce. And of course, other species depend on the survival of the salmon. Salmon provide an important link in the food chain. They spend 90% of their lives in the ocean, where they feed on plankton, shrimp, and small fish. When they make their return journey, they carry nutrients from the ocean back to the rivers and streams.
Up north, where I used to live in the river valley, the eagles would gather for the salmon run every year. They'd gorge themselves on all the salmon that had just spawned.
Nothing is wasted in nature. After the salmon spawn, their carcasses feed birds, mammals, and vegetation, and even their own newly hatched offspring.
Number 6. The professor explains what happens during the salmon's run. Indicate whether each sentence below is a step in the process. Number 7. How do salmon find their way to their home stream? Number 8. Listen again to part of the discussion. Then answer the question.
I remember having a real shock when I was hiking once. I was looking at a waterfall, and I saw a salmon jump up, about 10 feet. At first, I couldn't believe my eyes, but then I saw another one do it, and then several more. It was an awesome sight.
Why does the student say this?
At first, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Number 9. According to the professor, why are salmon an important link in the food chain? Number 10. What can be concluded from this statement?
Nothing is wasted in nature. After the salmon spawn, their carcasses feed birds, mammals, and vegetation, and even their own newly hatched offspring.